Welcome to our exploration of one of medieval Islam's most influential intellectuals, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, and his groundbreaking work, al-tahafut al-Falasifa, the Incoherence of the Philosophers. Imam al-Ghazali's tahafut al-Falasifa, the Incoherence of the Philosophers, is a landmark work in the medieval Islamic intellectual and religious history. It highlights the conflict between Islamic speculative theology, al-Kalam, and philosophy, the Falsafa, by refuting 20 philosophical doctrines. 17 of these doctrines are deemed heretical innovations, while 3 are seen as entirely opposed to the Islamic belief, branding their supporters as infidels. Despite this condemnation, the philosophers were not atheists. Their system affirmed God's existence, with all other beings emanating from the God as necessary consequence of the divine essence. Al-Ghazali argued that this view implied God created the world out of the necessity, like the sun products light, which is as denying God's attributes of life, will, power, and knowledge. And hence the God of the philosophers differed from the God of Quran. The tahafut significantly challenged Islamic philosophy, but is also unintentionally made philosophical ideas more known in the Islamic world. By refuting the philosophers, Al-Ghazali explained their ideas clearly, making them accessible to non-philosophers and setting a new tradition in the Kalam or theology. After Al-Ghazali, Islamic theologians engaged deeply with the philosophical theories. He criticized intertwining Kalam and Falsafa as never before. The tahafut is a high point in the medieval Arabic thought due to its intellectual rigor. Though motivated by religious and theological concerns, its arguments are deeply philosophical. It offers a logical critique, particularly of the emanative metaphysics, causal theory, and psychology of the Avicenna, and is incisive and thorough. While theological criticism of philosophy existed before Al-Ghazali, none matched the comprehensive, sustained critique found in the Tahafut al-Falasifa, work entirely dedicated to refuting the philosophers. Despite some flaws highlighted by Averroes or Ibn Rushd in his response, Tahafut, the Incoherence of the Incoherence, it remains a brilliant, incisive critique. To truly understand the importance of examining the incoherence of the philosopher, it is essential to delve into the life journey of Al-Ghazali, his background, and the intellectual landscape of the medieval Islam. Abu Hamid Muhammad ibn Muhammad al-Tusi al-Ghazali, one of the medieval Islam's most renowned religious intellectuals, was trained as an Islamic lawyer, faqih, and theologian, mutakallim, and later became a noted Islamic mystic, Sufi. Born in Tus, northeast Persia, he studied in madrasas, religious colleges, focused on Islamic law. His education began in Tus, continued briefly in Jurjan by Caspian Sea, and then in 1077 at a major madrasa in Nishapur. There he was taught by Imam al-Haramain al-Juwayni, a leading lawyer of the Shafi'i school of thought and the foremost theologian of the Ash'ari school. By the 11th century, Ash'arism was becoming the dominant school of thought, or a school of Kalam. It proposed a metaphysics of the transcendent atoms and accidents, considering all metaphysical existence as God's direct creation, determined by His eternal will and enacted by His power. Human perceptions of the nature of cause and effect are in reality events decreed by the divine will with no inherent causal connection. God is the sole cause, and all the events are His creations, allowing for the possibility of the miracles without contradictions. Al-Ghazali frequently defended this atomist occasionalist doctrine with logical and epistemological ground in his work of Kalam. After al-Juwayni's death, Al-Ghazali spent about 6 years at the court of Nizam al-Mulk, the Wazir of the Seljuk Sultans, and also taught in Nishapur. He gained fame as a scholar and author of Islamic law. In 1091, Nizam al-Mulk invited him to teach law at the Nizamiya Madrasa in Baghdad, the most prestigious of several madrasas founded by Nizam al-Mulk to promote the Shafi Islamic law and counter the Fatimid caliphs caliph's influence from Egypt. The Islamic world at the time was divided between Sunni and Abbasid Caliphate in the Baghdad and the Shia Fatimid Caliphate in Cairo. Al-Ghazali's appointment at Nizamiya integrated him into the Abbasid Seljuk establishment. During this period, he wrote Fadaih al-Batiniya, Scandal of Esoterics, criticizing Ismaili Fatimid doctrines at the request of Abbasid Caliph al-Mustadhir. Between 1091 and 1095, Al-Ghazali wrote the al-Tahafut al-Falasifa, the Incoherence of the Philosophers, and 3 related works. The first, Maqasid al-Falasifa, the aims of philosophers, where he explains the Avicenna's philosophies as a prelude to refuting them in Tahafut al-Falasifa, though it's never mentioned in Tahafut. The second, Mi'ar al-Ilm, the standard of knowledge, is a comprehensive exposition of Avicennian logic, which Al-Ghazali saw as a neutral tool for knowledge and encouraged the theologians and lawyers to adopt. And the third, Al-Iqtisad fil i'tiqad, moderation in belief, is an exposition of the Ash'arites' theology, building and affirming the true doctrine as opposed to the refutation in the Tahafut al-Falasifa. Around the time Al-Ghazali moved to Baghdad, he experienced a period of skepticism. In his autobiography, written shortly before his death, he recounted examining the various sciences he had studied, but found they didn't provide certainty. He distrusted the senses as they could deceive, such as seeing a star as small when it is actually large than the earth. This distrust extends to reason, leading him to doubt the self-evident truths of logic. He remained in this state for 2 months until God restored his faith in reason. In 1095, Al-Ghazali faced another spiritual crisis, losing his ability to speak for a time. He realized his career pursuits were motivated by worldly glory rather than the genuine religious impulse. He became dissatisfied with the purely doctrinal and intellectual approaches to religion, religion, believing they bypass the heart of the matter, which is the direct experiential aspect of the religion, called dhawq in Sufi terms. Convinced that the path of the Sufis led to true knowledge, he decided to abandon his career and follow their path. After making arrangements for his family, Al-Ghazali left Baghdad seeking seclusion in the Great Mosque of Damascus, then the Dome of Rock in Jerusalem, and later traveling to Hebron, Medina, and Mecca. He lived as an ascetic for about 11 years, pursuing the mystic's way, and during this period he wrote his major work, Ihya Ulumuddin, the revival of the religious sciences, aiming to reconcile traditional Islamic beliefs with the Sufi teachings. He reinterpreted the Sufi concept of the annihilation or al-fana in the divinist sense, suggesting that it meant seeing the unity of all things and losing the sense of self, rather than violating the Islamic concept of the divine transcendence. He also proposed a synthesis of the Islamic theological principles, the Aristotelian doctrine of the mean and the Sufi virtues, with the highest virtue being the love of God. In 1106, Al-Ghazali returned to teaching in Nishapur and then Tus until his death in 1111. His later writings included theological and mystical works, his autobiography, and a significant book on Islamic law, Al-Mustasfa min Usul ad-Din, the choice essential of the principles of the religion. While his later works are crucial for understanding his religious views, his most pivotal work from a philosophical standpoint remains his detailed critiques of the Islamic philosophers in Tahafut al-Falasifa, the Incoherence of the Philosophers. And as we conclude our exploration of Al-Ghazali's al-tahafut al-Falasifa, we have witnessed its profound impact on medieval Islamic thought, bridging the realm of theology and philosophy. So join us in the next episode as we delve deeper into the continuing discourse surrounding the incoherence of the philosopher, exploring the responses, criticism, and the enduring legacy of Al-Ghazali's seminal work. Thanks for watching.